Welcome to Tapped In with Tony. I am your host, Tony Bogan. Joining me tonight of WOBL and WDLW Radio and I-90 Sports, Dave Rivera joins us. Dave, thank you for being on the show.
T-Bogues, what's up, man? I'm happy to be tapped in. Finally get to rock with the big dog. So how you feeling, Tony?
I'm good, man. I'm good. It's almost August. High school football season is 17, 18 days away. I can't wait, man. As we were talking earlier, the most wonderful time of the year.
Yeah, some people look forward to Christmas, but for guys like me and you, it's those hot days in August, those training camp days. We've been hitting 7-on-7s. I've been following everybody on social media. The guy's been putting out a lot of good social media content from the schools, which is different, so it's good to see that they're jumping on the bandwagon. But yeah, man, 17 days. And I'm excited. There's a lot of good things happening here in Lorain County, and can't wait to get that going again.
Absolutely. And you guys have been killing it over there. You and Eddie have been putting out the highlights, putting out content, and it's really great to see, man. It's the hype. Usually the hype starts around July, but I'm seeing the hype start around June or May with big man 7-on-7s,
Yeah.
team camps, 7-on-7 starting in late June, 2 weeks after the baseball season is drawn to a close. It's growing. It just shows the growth of the game of football in Ohio.
Yeah, I mean, teams were out at the end of May doing 7-on-7s, which is unheard of. Elyria Catholic, I know, got an early jump this year with the new coaching staff. And let me just tell you, man, Tony, Elyria Catholic is for real. It's gonna be them and Glenville battling it out for the region, because Coach Ferris has got those guys flying around like silver bullets. I mean, it's like the mini Ohio State Buckeyes over there. I don't know if you've seen any of the social media posts that Chase has been putting out. He's got those boys fighting over tires, at night on the wrestling mats. I mean, the atmosphere that they're creating. I heard from some of the parents that they've just instilled so much discipline into those boys. They're afraid to make a mistake, Tony. Sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, man. But right now, those boys, they're playing like flawless right now in that 7-on-7 stuff. We've been watching them, and just the intensity that they're bringing over there on the corner of Poplar and Golf, man. Keep an eye out for them.
So they're locked in, locked in. That's huge.
Yeah, man. I mean, they had a new coaching staff, as we mentioned, with Troy Smith, Heisman Trophy winner, taking over the offensive side of the ball for the Panthers. And then you bring in defensive coordinator Doran Grant, who also played for the Buckeyes, national champion, had a little stint in the NFL. And what I noticed about those guys, Tony, they don't raise their voice.
Wow.
It's not hooting and hollering, man. It's
Wow.
teaching, it's coaching, it's everything's real private and like real one-on-one. So I was real excited to see that. I'm an old school guy, so I'm used to the yelling and screaming and the spitting in the face, and kids just don't respond to that anymore. you know so these guys have really understood how to coach these kids, and it's all about teaching them, respecting them, showing them. And Elyria Catholic has been doing a good job. And like I said, with Heisman Trophy winner Troy Smith, you got to figure he's running Jim Tressel's playbook. I mean, come on. So
Yeah.
we seen that. So I would imagine there's going to be a lot of fireworks this year over there, and they got two quarterbacks that are battling it out right now. It'll be interesting to see who they give the nod to.
That's amazing. And speaking of Elyria Catholic, you do play-by-play for them as well?
Yeah, so I do play by play for the basketball side. So basically, I cover them on the radio during basketball season, and then during basketball season, I'm the public address announcer. So I get the privilege of sitting in the Coliseum, for the boys and girls games. And they're right now, they're making some renovations to the Coliseum, which I don't know if you've been there, Tony, but it's like no other. There's not many basketball gyms that are still built like this. We mentioned they call it the Coliseum because you're down on the bottom level and everybody surrounds you. And that atmosphere can be pretty intimidating. Just for instance, the girls basketball team went undefeated at home last year,
Wow.
so it was a big thing for them to protect their house. And it was intimidating for other schools when they came near. um, we had the music, we had the intros, we had the whole nine. We brought something different to Elyria Catholic that they haven't experienced before. And it's done great with the recruiting, because kids come and watch and they're like, wow, I want to play here on this floor. Number one. Number two, if I can be here in this environment where these girls are just dominating the GLC every single year. The girls have won it 9 out of 10 years.
Wow.
So, it's great to play at the Coliseum. I have fun calling the games and being the public address announcer. And I can't wait for that place to get finished this year and get back in there in November.
Sounds amazing. Sounds like an amazing environment. I'll have to check it out in the future. I know they've done their share of district final games. Elyria Catholics had great basketball programs, and I know one year the girls won the regional final in 2020, but COVID thwarted that.
Yeah, they got off the bus, and that was the year that they called it. It was just heartbreaking for those girls to not be able to have a chance to fight, for that championship that year. And they were loaded. They had tons of players, and the girls this year are fighting to get back to that stage. They bring back 4 or 5 starters. They lost Carter McCrae, who went Division 1 to Northern Kentucky University. But besides that, they bring back 4 other starters. It's going to be a different style of basketball, Tony. They had the privilege of dumping it into a 6'1" girl last year when things got tough. And now it's going to be defense, turnovers, and running. They don't have a lot of size, but they have tons of guards and girls that are interchangeable that could play multiple positions. And look for them to be grimy on defense and running up and down the court.
Nice, nice. And speaking of Lorain County, how did you end up with WOBL and WDLW?
So I was fortunate enough. I got into this business 5 years ago. I'm a graduate of the Ohio Media School in Independence, and went there. Had a fantastic time learning from some great people, and taking as many opportunities as I could to try to learn my craft. And before I even got out of school, I already had a job with the radio station. I started off at the Fish first. So I got a job at 95.5, the Fish, which is a Christian station, playing good music for everybody. It's safe, it's family friendly. I started off there in the promotions department, which really got my feet wet in the industry. I was out at events and concerts promoting the station, passing out merchandise, interacting with customers and listeners, and all that fun stuff. So I started at the bottom, as you say. Uh, got into the business, in promotions, and then worked my way up. I joined WOBL a year after that, as a sideline reporter. So before COVID, we actually had, a sideline guy roaming the sidelines, which was really cool because you're down there as well in that action, and when you're right there on the field, there's nothing like it. So I was doing sideline reporting for a while. I would give the field conditions and the weather report, and talk to the coaches on their way to the locker room. So those were like my first stints as far as getting on air, little by little. And then I filled in and color commentary, covering games, and then I've called play by play for football games. And then an opportunity came when they were like, man, we need a good post game show. We need somebody to really give the scores, talk to the kids, talk to the coaches, and just break down every game on Friday night. So I got the opportunity to do that about 2.5 years ago, and we've really just been building off of that, man. It is this year we're going to the next level, so we're actually going to be video streaming it as well as it being live on the radio. So we got all the kinks worked out. It'll be streaming live on Facebook on the WOBL WDLW sports page. You'll be able to see us in studio with the ticker on the bottom of the screen for all the scores. And then we're going to be talking to the players and the coaches. And what separates us, Tony, from a lot of the other radio stations is we love talking to the players. A lot of other radio stations, they don't want to deal with the players because sometimes they don't talk well. We love it. We have such a relationship with the kids. That's what sets us apart from those other radio stations, man. I can tell you when I walk into these gyms, into these football fields, kids are pointing and going, "Uh-oh, game of the week. Game of the week. WOBL's here." So I mean, we're getting love in Lorain County because we're spotlighting these kids like nobody else is doing. You do a good job of spotlighting kids, in that Akron Canton area. Our buddy Vince does a good job in that Cuyahoga County area. So everybody's like taking little bits and pieces as far as their own backyard. And it's all about the kids, man. I was an athlete. I loved playing football. I was a 3-year letterman at Admiral King. It was some of the best times of my life. And we didn't have coverage like this. We weren't as good either, but we didn't have the media coverage that the kids do now. And that's what it's all about, is just spotlighting these kids. It's fun. It's not really work. Yeah, I get paid to do some of the stuff. Most of the stuff I don't, though. I'm just going out and making appearances and scouting and watching just for my own recognition, just so that I know what's going on in the county. And then when we get to these games, and then it's showtime. So that's what we're doing this year. That's different as far as the post game show. As far as the radio side goes, we're giving you 3 games a week this year. So you're going to get 2 on the radio, and you're going to get 1 video streamed as well. So you talked about Edwin Vereen earlier in the show. He works with us here at WOBL, and then me and him do I-90 Sports. He's going to be the head video producer of the games on Friday nights. So we're going to be actually video streaming the games to YouTube so people can watch them live. And then, you have the 2 games on the radio. So if you want to hear a Lorain County 8 game, fine. If you want to hear a SWC game, that's good. And then we got a random game that we picked that's going to be on the stream alone, that we're very excited about, because a lot of people in radio are afraid to dabble in that video stuff.
Mm. And you guys have done a great job. I've had Eddie on second episode of Tapped In with Tony. He's a podcaster himself, the Sports
Mm-hmm.
Bro podcast. Really great guy, really knowledgeable about what he does, and he's really passionate about it too. And seeing that as an East Side kid myself, I went to Shaker Heights, but I'm familiar with a lot of the West Side schools. We
Mm-hmm.
will go on those trips to Admiral King, Southview.
Right.
When I did statistics for Shaker Heights, we would make trips to Elyria. We made a trip to Avon Lake one year. And Shaker would play the majority of their games on Saturdays because we didn't have lights until a couple years ago.
Right.
On my Fridays, like before I got started with Keon Sports, I would be on Friday nights. I'd be tuning into you guys' station. I'd be tuning into all the different area games and stuff like that, just going probably see maybe 5, 6 different games going on at once, just listening and stuff.
Yeah, man. And then we teamed up with Richard Flowers from Lorain County Friday Night Lights. We're trying to make this like huge mega movement in Lorain County. We're calling it the Lorain County Sports Network, to be honest with you. Richard does a podcast on Thursday nights where he breaks down all the games in Lorain County. And then his feature games are, of course, our games of the week. But then Richard's also going to be at a 4th game, covering it from social media side of things. He's going to be in the stands, maybe going live, giving some updates, and that type of thing. So now we're talking about 4 games a week, different games, not the same game. So we want to try to cover as many teams as we can in Lorain County. We have the benefit of there being 17 different teams in our county, and that's a lot when you really think about it. In comparison to some of those southern counties in southern Ohio, they might have 2 or 3 schools that they're dealing with. And when we tell them we got 17, they're like, wow, how do you do it? And we're like, it's definitely hard. We try to stay neutral. We try not to, pick sides. We let that play out during the playoffs. Obviously, once the playoffs come, we're rooting for Lorain County through and through. But during the season, man, we try to stay as neutral as possible. We cover every single team at least once, Tony. And Lorain County football, it's been kind of up and down. I mean, there's been some top heavy teams, but then, dude, 2 years ago we had 3 teams that didn't win a game.
Hmm.
I mean, you got 3 teams in one county that went 0-10. You're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
But it just shows you like the balance of power. Uh, I don't know if you could speak for that, where you're at, but kids are transferring left and right. The transfer portal is not just in college. These kids are teaming up with each other during the summer, playing AAU ball and travel ball, whatever it may be. And they want to play with each other because the ultimate goal is, man, you want to win. And, I don't know anybody who wants to stay at a losing school and be the top dog. I mean, to me, that's just not fun. I don't care how much I'm doing. I want to win. So if I'm going out there and putting in all that work, like these kids are doing, they're like, man, let's all team up together. Let's form some type of power squad. We've seen LeBron do it and start the movement, and the kids are doing the same thing, man. So Lorain County is a little bit stricter on it. Cuyahoga County is a free for all. You could do whatever you want in Cleveland. I mean, there's kids that I'm covering that have been to 3 different schools in 3 years, and you can't
Wow.
you can't tell me they're moving from Garfield Heights to Shaker Heights to Warrensville Heights. I don't buy it.
Down in Portage County. I would say that we don't really get a lot of the whole transfer portal stuff here, but mainly it's just like Portage County has a lot of smaller schools. A lot of these kids will play 3 and 4 years. Every now and then you'll get some kids transfer in. Like I know there was a school up here that had some transfers, but then that was mainly because of COVID in 2020, where there was no guarantee that there would be a football season.
Right.
So Streetsboro had that. Aurora's a good school up here. And you've also got the success of programs such as Crestwood and Mogador, field and baseball this year. So you'll have your success. You'll have your good teams down here in Portage County.
I think it's different, in those tight knit communities per se. They build from the youth level, so they're constantly, replenishing. Some of these urban areas that I'm in, you're in, um, they're a little bit different. It kind of it's a wave.
Yes,
It,
it is.
it really is a wave, man. Whatever's hot at that moment, kids are flocking to it. Kids are trying to do it, and it's hard, especially some of the public schools. Now that Elyria Catholic is doing damage out here in Lorain County, I mean, they're taking kids from everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not just Elyria kids anymore. Now it's North Ridgeville, it's Amherst, it's the Lorain kids they're taking. So I could just vouch, on that side of things, how much movement there's been, um, from some of the public schools to the private schools, just because of a little bit of a better opportunity.
Yeah, and even with the games, I know you said that covered a lot of games in even in the Akron area, it's like that. You've got at least three off the top of my head is Walsh Jesuit, St. V, CVCA. There's three private schools in the Akron area. There's just like a lot more opportunity there. There's a lot of schools in Summit County alone.
Yeah,
So you'll see that, and there's a lot of kids do want to join up with their friends and make something, make some shake with their careers. I mean, you got St. V, traditional basketball power. You've got Hoban, who won states in football and in basketball. They're building up for all sports.
hmm
All Jesuit, nationally ranked baseball program at one point. CVCA, you've got a young man who might be going to the draft in 25 or
that
26.
Darren Peterson is something
You know?
else, ain't he?
Yes, it is. I've been blessed to see him play a couple times out by where I'm at, and a lot of the Summit County. I feel like a lot of Summit County schools are like more even, just like the Portage County schools.
hmm
They're a lot even, and the games are. You'll see some of those publics. They'll hang with those private schools. Like they'll give them a game. They'll give them a scare.
Yeah,
So it's not really that big of a gulf, and I'd say Portage County. They're all pretty much on even ground. One year we'll have one good class and then a down class in that same school. Another school will have a down class and then an up class. So
yeah,
it comes, it comes and goes.
right.
And speaking of I-90 Sports, tell me how that deal came together.
So Ed and I just wanted to create something. Obviously, that was our own. We work for the radio station, and we're both very grateful for that opportunity. But we just wanted to have something that obviously we owned, that we were putting out content year round, um, and just wanted to make sure that we started up something different, and just wanted to feature more kids, not just necessarily in Lorain County. We kind of wanted to spread it out a little bit more. um, but obviously it's just me and Ed, so there's only so much we could do. But yeah, I mean, that was how I-90 started. We just wanted to start something else that we could do, to kind of show our skills when we weren't on the radio per se, because we're on during the football and the basketball season. I'm fortunate enough to be doing the news, and I'm going to be having a country morning show that's going to be starting in August. So I'm excited about that. I'm going to be dabbling into country music. I've been listening to that for the last 3 months, trying to get caught up to date on country music. So, we're grateful for the opportunities that the radio stations have given us, and we just wanted to be able to continue to showcase what we can do year round when we weren't necessarily on air, and just be in ownership of something that was ours.
Absolutely, and it's really great to be out there just to provide content. Like I know you guys, I don't know how much you guys do spring wise, but I know I myself cover baseball, covered girls lacrosse this past season, which is really great experience. Gained a
Yeah,
couple.
so we're trying to dabble in the baseball. We did a little bit here and there. It's obviously tough with the weather is the main concern. One day they're playing, the next day they're not, and then the next day is a doubleheader. So the scheduling inconsistency is tough. Obviously, you want to try to cover as many teams that are playing on turf as you can. That's what we figured out, so far learning this game. And then yeah, just trying to get our niche in the baseball and softball world. We were able to go to the All-Star games. Um, Luckily, our radio station stepped up this year and sponsored the Golden Helmet Award, Mr. and Mrs. Basketball, as well as Mr. and Mrs. Baseball. These are awards that have been originally held by Coca-Cola for the last 25 years.
Wow.
For whatever reason, Coca-Cola said they didn't want to do it anymore, and our owner, Gary Tollett, without hesitation said, I'll do it and give me all of them. And I believe next year we might be getting the wrestling to go along with that. I think that's the only other one, and maybe soccer that we're missing. But it's so cool to go to these all-star games and give this hardware out to the best player in Lorain County, and to be able to represent the station. It's just truly amazing. So we were able to go out there and do that all this year. And Ed does a great job filming everything and putting the graphics together, and he's really found his niche behind the camera. He does great on air. He's had some opportunities last year in studio with us. But I think Ed is a superstar as far as those graphics go, and behind the camera, and just his eye for the action. I tell him every day, I say, man, this video that you're putting out is better than the last one, and he just keeps improving every single time. So I'm grateful to have met Ed, and I met him when he was just kind of roaming around trying to make his mark in the business, and I was fortunate enough to snag him up and get him on my team because I seen what kind of person he was. Um, so he's just trying to break into the business as well, and me and him together, we just want to dominate Lorain County. So that's what we're trying to focus on. We're not really trying to dominate everywhere, man. Key got his side, you got your side. Everybody's got their little area. Kevin Sled's down there at Believeland Media Group. Shout out to them. I mean, everybody's just trying to dominate their own backyard, man. I don't want to be king of Cleveland. I just want to be king of Lorain.
Yeah, that's really cool. And just at the end of the day, we're all trying to win. At the end of the day, whether you're covering games out in Mahoning Valley, Lorain County, Akron County, at the end of the day, we're out here providing content for the kids.
Hmm.
That's the end goal. That's the end game.
Yeah, and during the playoffs, it's fun. We all get to bounce ideas and talk about the teams that are matching up, because now it's a Lorain County team versus a Portage team or a Summit County team, and or a Cuyahoga County team. So now then we're matching up with you guys, and we get to talk to you and get to preview the games, and that's always cool. And it's going to be another great year of football for Lorain County. You're looking at the Avon Eagles, who have just owned Lorain County for the last 12 to 15 years. It's going to be no different. They're led by two guys who are going big D1 Power 5, with Luke Hamilton going to Michigan. You got Jacorian Caffey going to Cincinnati. Um, Nolan Good's going to step up and play quarterback this year for the graduated Sam DiTilio, who went to Case Western. So it's going to be interesting to see. But Avon, they just reload, man. Like Mike Elder, he runs that program like it's college. He's a Mount Union guy, and I can tell you, Tony, I don't know if you've ever been around Mike or in depth with Mike. That dude is intense. I would love to play for that guy. I would love to run through a brick wall for him.
I've heard great
The
things.
way that he just communicates and loves these kids, and he teaches them and coaches them, and he has just completely turned Avon from a farm school into this suburb that is just popping in Lorain County.
That's amazing. And Avon, I know Vince has covered Avon over the years. You know, the Avon Lake rivalry. Avon,
Yeah.
he talked about it in his book, Northeast Ohio High School Football Rivalries, how that rivalry in and of itself is just intense. And I had another guest on. Her name's Allison Kordowich of Maxim Lacrosse. She helped to start a girls lacrosse program over at Avon. So they're on to come up with girls lacrosse as well. So Avon is definitely one of those schools that's definitely on the rise with the other sports, but football, you gotta give a shout to their football team. Year in, year out, they're always making deep
And then
runs.
you talk about the Shoremen, Tony, man. They're like sneaky, quiet, good every year. Like Matt Kostelnik and his Shoremen, they're just like, all right, go ahead and talk about Avon, guys. You guys can go ahead but they are just a team you do not ever want to play. Um, Matt Gould from Cleveland.com had them as the 10th ranked team in Division II around Northeast Ohio. He was breaking down who he thought his contenders and pretenders were going to be. And he had Avon number 2, and he had, oh, guess what, Akron Hoban number 1. It's gonna come down to those two teams again in Division II around here, and maybe Avon Lake can make some noise. Olmsted Falls is down this year. They're not a Lorain County team, but we see them so much because they're in the SWC. They might as well be. It's going to be interesting to see how they reload, losing Rocco Conti, who was all everything. SWC football is going to be interesting this year. The new addition of Brian Fox from Elyria Catholic to Elyria, I think he is going to go over there and just put his stamp on that program. Obviously, it's going to be hard the first year, changing the culture, putting your systems in, putting your languages in. But I have seen some videos from the Pioneers, and they're looking like they're going to be pretty tough this year. So we'll see. I mean, Southwestern Conference football, they're always tough. They're always top heavy. Berea Mid Park looks good this year. They got a big time recruit out there at tight end. So I'm interested to see how the Southwestern Conference plays out. But if I had to make my selection right now, I'm going to go with the defending champion Avon Eagles.
Oh yeah, yep. And one thing about the Southwest Conference, basketball, they are a very, very tough conference basketball wise. I've covered North Ridgeville a couple of times. I believe Avon Lake won the Southwest Conference in basketball, but you've got just a lot of good teams out there.
Yeah, it's a bunch of football players playing basketball, but it's fun to watch. They play team ball. There's usually one or two good kids that stand out, and then the rest are those football players and role players that are filling the spots. But yeah, the Southwestern Conference had a very good basketball season, and watch out for Jaden Crutcher from Elyria. Just got a Division I offer to Youngstown State. If you want to talk some SWC hoops, he's going to be filling in for the Lorain County Mr. Basketball, which was Ryan Walsh, who departs and goes to Nova Southeastern down in Florida. So yeah, Southwestern Conference basketball is always tough. I always like how they have to postpone their season because all the teams are still playing football. So it's always weird because they don't start the season until at least like the second week of December. Because I mean, Avon's still playing during Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You know, Avon prides themselves in having that Thanksgiving Day practice. That's what Mike Elder preaches. He brings the alumni back. They have this huge breakfast brunch buffet from all kinds of sponsors. They bring alumni back and they have a good time practicing Thanksgiving Day, dude, before you got a football game the next, Friday. So
Nice.
it's pretty cool out there.
And to now switching gears to the GLC, like I covered Westlake in baseball in 22. Went out to see them. They beat Buckeye in the GLC title game. Even though they didn't have a title game this year, that conference is always tough with baseball. I know we talked about Elyria Catholic earlier, but are there any other teams that stand out to you in the GLC?
Well, this is the last year for the GLC. Let's start there with them kicking out Elyria Catholic and Holy Name, which they want to say they formed their own conference, I guess, which is a nice way of saying we're kicking out the private schools because they can't compete with them, which I understand. But you've had those schools in your conference for a long time, and now all of a sudden it's a problem. So Elyria Catholic and Holy Name will be in the GLC for one more year, and then next year they will head to I want to say it's a great North Coast League or North Coast
North
Conference.
Coast Conference,
I
I
want to
believe.
say okay, North Coast Conference, and it's going to be an all private school conference, which I'm good. I'm good with. A lot of people say that private should play private anyways. So it's going to be CVCA, who you mentioned earlier, will be along with us. Uh, Lake Catholic will be with us. Notre Dame Cathedral Latin. Um, they're trying to get some more schools to leave other conferences this year to possibly make it bigger. I know you got Beaumont in there, which is an all girls school, so I'm not sure how that really lines up.
It would line
Uh,
up for girls basketball, I believe.
yeah, but some of the other sports it might be a little difficult, but yeah, so next year for the GLC or for those two teams, Elyria Catholic and Holy Name, is going to be a lot of traveling. And I can just tell you, Tony, I'm not looking forward to it. My daughter will be a senior next year, so we'll have that one last year. We're going to win the GLC again this year, and then we'll go to the new conference next year, and that'll be a battle. Um,
Oh yeah.
we know that just because of all those road games and traveling to these teams that we don't necessarily see all the time. But for this year, as far as the GLC goes, Westlake is always kind of tough. I know they lost a big time running back there last year. Bay Village, we've seen them in a 7-on-7 against Amherst. They looked pretty good. Rocky River is always tough, and then Lutheran West is a school that's on the rise. Tony, I'm just giving
Oh,
you a heads up right now.
absolutely.
They are trying to compete with St. Ed's and St. Ignatius, and bless their heart because they're doing it. Kids are really flocking to Lutheran West, as you've seen with that basketball team that went down to the state Final Four.
Yep.
They're probably going to do that again this year. They are tough. They are bringing in tons of transfers as well. So Lutheran West football team is supposed to be pretty good. Who else is in the GLC? I mean, I cover mainly the GLC West. The GLC East, I don't really cover as much until we get down into like the playoff part. But you got your Lake Woods over there, and
Buckeye.
yeah, your Buckeyes down there. So I mean, it's always interesting to see. Um, I'm gonna call right now that I expect Elyria Catholic football to come out on that west side as far as winning that. And then on the east, it'll be a toss up to see who comes out over there.
Yep. You got Holy Name, who made State Final Four run. I know they
Tough.
made deep runs the past 3 years. And since the Parma schools are Valley Forge and Normandy are getting
Yes.
bigger, so one of them could definitely make the step forward.
Yeah, that's also a possibility with Parma Senior closing. I forgot about that. That those other schools are going to be getting an influx of kids, and Parma's the biggest suburb in the state of Ohio. I want to say, and they've got a lot of schools, a lot of different options for kids, and Holy Name has always been tough. And I want to say they went down in division this year, Tony.
They did
Okay,
Division 4, I believe.
okay. Which that I mean I know it's hard, obviously, with Elyria Catholic and now Glenville, as far as your top dogs in Division 4 in Northeast Ohio. But it'll be interesting to see how Holy Name does. They always show out.
Absolutely. And we also before we wrap up, we got to talk about the Lorain County 8. I know that's a more recent conference. How are those schools down there? Because I know they've got a lot of talented kids down
So we strictly cover the Lorain County 8 League on WOBL. We've dedicated that station to those schools. So for the last 3 years, man, we cover a Lorain County 8 team every single week, and we really love it. Like you get to see the close knit and the family atmosphere. That's Southern Lorain County, man. That's the countryside. That's the down home, the manners, there's just a lot of good people down there. This year for football, it starts with Columbia. I mean, they're the reigning LC8 champion. They bring back Marco Sirigliano, who is going to be a front runner for the Golden Helmet Award winner this year. And then they're pairing him with Jacob Sanders. So when one's not getting the ball, the other one is. I don't know how much they're going to throw it this year. They do have Gavin Tollett back as a tight end, but uh, Jason Ward always does a good job of using what he has as his strengths. So I would imagine they're going to get another heavy dose of Marco Sirigliano this year. And then as far as the second team in the LC8, what we're all seeing is Black River. Black River is one of those teams that borders 3 different counties. So they border Lorain, Medina, and the one below us, I believe. Um, so they get kids from all those little different counties. But Black River has some athletes there led by Eric Grosser. They bring back Blake Hopkins, John Cray. Um, they've got a bunch of guys down there that are just really tough and hard nosed. John McKean is another kid to look out for playing tight end down there. So we're thinking Columbia and Black River, and then our dark horse Tony is going to be the Clearview Clippers.
Ooh,
Um,
heard some good things about them.
Clearview Clippers, the senior class that they have, man, is just phenomenal. And I talked to head coach Mike Collier, and he said, "Man, Dave, if we can get some protection up front, man, we'll be good." I don't know how much they plan on running the ball. These guys are going to be like run and shoot, greatest show on turf,
Oh,
led by Cy Christensen, who's a sophomore, and then all their receivers are juniors and seniors who are just studs. You got Aiden Cruz, Keith Colvin, Malcolm Lane, um, Josiah Longo. I mean, there's just tons of kids. Sean O'Hearn, Ashton Pabon. The problem is, Tony, is that they had that 1 year as sophomores where they didn't win a game,
mm,
and that takes a toll on any kid, any person, man. When you go a whole season and you go over and you don't win anything, so the knock on Clearview's always been they don't know how to win. They don't know how to win. They could be up in games, but they can't finish. They don't know what it's like to win. So that's been the knock on Clearview the last few years is that they just can't finish. They can't put it together. This year, those seniors have got to step up and have got to seal the deal. And I really think they will. They bring back, here's a little trivia question for you. Clearview has the most all-state returners coming back in Lorain County. Not Avon, not Avon Lake, not Columbia. Clearview. They
Wow.
bring back the most all-state guys. So that's our dark horse. That's our number 3 in the Lorain County 8 League. If Clearview could put it together, they could battle with Black River and Columbia. Those last 3 weeks, those are their 3 opponents. So the winner of the LC8 is going to be determined in week 8, 9, and 10.
Wow. And before we wrap up, I noticed you say you also cover Oberlin football.
Yeah, so I get to cover Division 3 college football for Oberlin, the Yeoman. It's exciting. This is now my 3rd year doing it. So they have a beautiful facility down there, Tony, at the campus. I don't know if you've ever been there.
We went down
Top
for 7-on-7 a few years ago when I did stuff for Shaker Heights.
top notch. Oberlin High School actually plays their home games there as well. So they do a good job with sharing the campus. But I think it's so cool, man, to be able to call college football. And I would really like to get to that level as far as maybe, an aspiration or a dream is maybe covering a team for one team and following them all year and being their play-by-play guy or color guy. Um, and just staying at that college level. I don't know if I mean I do some pro stuff with the Cavs. I was able to get a media pass this year. But the love for the game in college is just so different. You see it. So I get to do that on Saturdays with the other sports director, Don Vincent. Me and him, we've been doing it for the last few years. Unfortunately, Oberlin College football hasn't been as good as it should be. But they're a liberal arts school, and it's not necessarily priority number one. But they're recruiting all over the country, and not necessarily in Lorain County, which really blows my mind. But it's hard to get into Oberlin. They have great alumni and people that have came out of there, and it's a privilege and an honor to get to cover their games on Saturdays. I don't get to do the road games we used to back in the day, but we just cover the home games this year, and we broadcast them on goyo.com, which is the college's website that parents and fans can watch if they don't want to make it down to the game on Saturdays.
Gotcha. And I even was blessed to cover a college football game myself with Walsh University a couple years ago with John Bozica. It's really it's a great experience doing that, especially with Walsh being a local program, a Division II program. So college
Yeah.
football, the lower levels of college football are definitely slept on because there are a lot of good Division II, Division III programs in the state of Ohio.
Well, you want to talk Division 2? We've got one up the road at Notre Dame College. Is just phenomenal what they're doing up there. I mean, they're really taking kids from around this Lorain County, Cuyahoga County area and really competing. So as far as Division 2 schools go, you got Notre Dame. Division 3, we all know about Mount Union. And then, Division 1, you go to the big boys down at the Horseshoe. So Ohio is just a great state of football, no matter what level it's on, and you get to see it at every form.
Absolutely. Dave, thank you for coming on and thank you for coming on the show tonight and giving us a preview of high school football. If you have any message you want to share, floor is yours, man.
This is Dave Rivera from WOBL Radio and WDLW Sports and I-90. You're listening to Tapped In with Tony Bogan, streaming worldwide in high definition. That's your little plug, Tony. So you could use that as your little open or anything if you got. Maybe start having all your guests cut one for you.
Okay.
Maybe make a little intro out of it. But no, man, just I appreciate what you guys are doing. Thanks for having me on the show. I like that we're all able to help each other out, from different areas and collaborate. Like you said earlier, we all want to just see each other succeed. It's all about spotlighting the kids. None of us are getting rich off doing this. Yeah, we're making a name for ourselves. But at the end of the day, it's all for the kids. It's all for the love of the game, man. We're all athletes at heart. We're all kids at heart, and we just want to get back to what we love. So it's just been fun. So if you're interested in Lorain County football, we are the leader in Lorain County. We pride ourselves on covering all 17 schools. And if you're interested, I hope you tune into Facebook, Twitter. You can find me at Dave Rivera 440 on both platforms, and we'll keep you posted.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on the show. And like Dave said, Tapped In with Tony is available on Spotify and wherever you get your podcasts.
That's right, man. I appreciate it, Tony. Thank you so much.
No problem.